All right. Hello, thank you. And I just really want to say how powerful Candy was. Can we give it up for Candy and all of our organizers here?
Candy for president!
And thank you for joining us and United States Senator Kamala Harris today outside of the Otay Mesa Detention Center. My name is Leticia Cáceres, and I proudly serve on the board of directors for the American Civil Liberties Union of San Diego and Imperial Counties. We represent many of you, 22,000 card-carrying defenders of due process, equal protection, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press, the right to protest, and liberty and justice for all. The ACLU, along with our partners, is here today to declare that families belong together. We are here today with many civil and human rights advocates, faith leaders, and the United States Senator to talk about the humanitarian crisis that is challenging the conscience of our nation. A crisis created by the Trump administration's unapologetically brutal anti-immigrant agenda. This is 2018, people, and this is America.
Yes, it is.
The notion that our federal government would use its considerable power to snatch children from their parents' arms with no explanation, no justification, and no plan to reunite them should be unimaginable. But this is real, and it's happening today. And it's happening right here, right now, in San Diego and across our country's southern border. In fact, recently reported yesterday that they are preparing to shelter as many as 22,000 more migrant children on 4 military bases here. The sheer cruelty of the Trump administration's practice of separating children from their families has attracted national and international condemnation. Family separation is morally indecent, dehumanizing, and utterly unacceptable.
Crime against humanity!
Together with the Justice Department's zero-tolerance policy and the expedited mass criminal prosecutions called Operation Streamline, occurring in federal courthouses in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and next month here in San Diego. And if you haven't read, today in the UT, there is an op-ed by James Stiven, the retired U.S. magistrate for the Southern District. We, the people, say to the Trump administration, have you no shame?
Have you no shame?
Have you no shame? Have you no shame? As we stand here today, thousands of traumatized infants, toddlers, children, and youth are scattered across the country, held captive in repurposed government buildings, tent cities, and ad hoc shelters run by private contractors with no independent oversight or media access, and with no family to nurture and protect them. In detention centers and jails across this country, including facilities like the one we see behind us, thousands of anguished parents at this very moment are experiencing the nightmare of not knowing where their children are and how they are. They can't speak to their children or hold them, and may never be able to do again. As you will hear from Senator Harris and local advocates who are working to help desperate parents, communication between separated family members is not being facilitated. Parents don't know where their children are, and children don't know where their parents are. The children have no rights to attorneys, so they have no advocates. No one is dedicated to helping them. Not even the staff who contract with the government to care for the children know where their parents are. Parents have no telephone access to call to find their children. 1-800 numbers do not work in the jail. The truth is, some families will never be reunited. deported parents may never find their children again. It's happening, people. The Trump administration has no plan to reunite children in their custody with the parents they deport. The executive order purports to end family separation, but offers neither plans nor resources to reunite the thousands of children who remain separated from the people who love them. The Department of Health and Human Services, the agency charged with the custody of the children, confirms there is no plan. These children, some merely infants and toddlers, are suffering immeasurably. They need to be reunited with their families immediately.
Yes!
The executive order ignores the administration's responsibility to remedy the trauma it caused by ill-conceived immigration control tactics. The executive order doubles down on the administration's zero-tolerance policy and determination to criminally prosecute every person who crosses the border between formal border crossings. The bottom line is that Donald Trump's family separation crisis is not over until the administration proves the policy has actually ended and every single child has been reunited with his and her parents. Through a class action lawsuit, the ACLU has taken this fight to the courts to demand immediately reunification of thousands of children with their parents and to permanently end the practice of family separations. Now, the administration is signaling they will indiscriminately detain all families, regardless of whether they are asylum seekers or if they even pose no flight risk or danger to the community. We must not allow the Trump administration to exacerbate this humanitarian crisis by warehousing innocent children and their families in prison.
That's right.
Children don't belong in jail, even with their parents, under any circumstances.
That's right.
Let's be clear. Jailing kids with their parents is not a solution. It's no fix at all. In fact, it's another kind of horror and trauma. It's family incarceration. So I want to send a message to our children and parents, families inside right now. And if you have hands free, can you form hearts? And I saw a sign that inspired me that says, "Estamos con ustedes," and chant it a few times. So hearts, hands up with hearts. Estamos con ustedes.
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 Thank you. And we will now hear from Carmen Chavez, Executive Director of Casa Cornelia.
Muy buenos días. Realmente estamos aquí por la humanidad. Estamos presentes porque sabemos de lo que está haciendo el gobierno actual. No es correcto y no lo vamos a aceptar. Y les quiero dar las gracias a todos ustedes y a todos mis hermanos y hermanas que están aquí esta mañana en esta lucha juntos. Good morning. My name is Carmen Chavez, and I'm an attorney and the executive director of Casa Cornelia Law Center. We are a nonprofit legal services organization founded 25 years ago. I want to thank most especially today's organizers for this opportunity to be here and to Senator Harris for being present in San Diego to reaffirm that families belong together.
Yes. And free.
Casa Cornelia provides free legal services and assistance to victims of human and civil rights violations within the immigrant community who would not otherwise have access to legal representations, persons who under current law are deemed to have a right to humanitarian immigration protection. Our clients are those who have suffered persecution and torture in their homelands, unaccompanied, abused, and abandoned children, and victims of human rights, domestic violence, and other violent crimes. Last year, we assisted 954 children, most fleeing from Central America, 760 asylum seekers from 68 different countries, and over 600 victims of violent crimes. We also served persons who were seeking relief under the Dreamers that we hear so much about under DACA. In addition to providing legal services, our mission directs us to share with others the impact of immigration law and policy on the public good. Today, more than any other time since the founding of Casa Cornelia 25 years ago, this responsibility weighs heavy on us. While championing the effort to ensure access to justice with compassion for each asylum seeker, unaccompanied child, and victim of serious crime we serve, we are seeing and experiencing the direct impact of the cruel and inhumane policy of family separation, the disqualification of victims of domestic violence asylum seekers, and the further criminalization of undocumented migrants under the zero tolerance policy, which has included parents traveling with children. As it stands today, over 2,000 children have been separated from their parents. And as it stands today, there is no plan or procedure in place by the federal government to ensure the safe and effective reunification of parents and their young children.
Shame.
Indeed, shame. Unless change occurs, it is unclear if and when these children will be reunited with their mothers and fathers. This cannot stand.
No.
And while we acknowledge the complexity of the immigration issue and recognize the many challenges facing us as a nation in resolving the crisis, we assert that the policies in place and many of the policies soon to be enacted, which have been shared this morning, run contrary to our nation's values and commitment to protect the most vulnerable, to ensure due process and an opportunity to be heard. No society can sustain itself amidst constant turmoil, conflict, and uncertainty. The time has come to explore not simply whether our laws are being enforced, but whether our laws are just.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of you for standing with child and family immigrants and refugees at this time. I am out of time, but the lucha continua. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. And now we'll hear from Lillian Serrano, chair of the San Diego Immigrant Rights Consortium.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
My name is Lilian Serrano. I am the chair of the San Diego Immigrant Rights Consortium, and I'm also with the Southern Border Communities Coalition, a coalition of organizations all throughout the southern border from San Diego to Bronzeville that brings together border communities to speak loud and clear against the abominations and the words that the Trump administration has been throwing against our communities. They don't see us as a thriving place where we're raising our families. They see us as a military zone, and we're not. We are a beautiful place to live where our families are together, where we are all thriving together, and where we value our neighbors. And we value every neighbor, even that neighbor that comes knocking into our doors asking for refugee, for asylum, who is asking us for protection. We don't separate our families. We value our families. We're here to demand that this administration treat us, all of us, with respect and humanity. How messed up is that? We're asking for humanity. We're asking to be treated like human beings. We're not animals. Our babies are not animals to be kept in cages. This administration has shown many times that they don't see immigrants and their families as human beings. They see us as pawns in a dirty political game. We are more than that. We're human beings.
Yes.
For many of us, our community members, for many of us who live in this community, the reality is that our loved ones are being constantly used as bargain chips for a useless wall, a wall that won't create any type of protection to us, but that will actually harm our environment, it will harm our relationship with our neighbors, and it will harm us as a community. We want unity. We don't want more divisions. This time, Trump came up after the most vulnerable, the children. We will not remain silent while babies are ripped away from their mother's arms. We will not remain silent while children are being put in cages as if they were animals. And no, Mr. Trump, putting parents with their children in cages is not the solution. We want all of our immigrant families together in the community where they belong. And as I close, I'm going to ask my neighbors to come with me in a chant and just make it loud and clear so it can get to D.C. We don't want cages. We don't want walls. We want secure communities for all. No cages, no walls. Secure community for all. No cages, no walls. Secure communities for all. No cages, no walls. Secure communities for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. And now we will hear from Bishop Catherine Jeffords Shorey with the Episcopal Diocese of San Diego.
Buenos días a todos y todas.
Buenos días.
¿Todo bien?
Todo no
No.
bien, no bien.
No bien.
No,
No
nada
bien.
bien.
This nation has a long and ugly history of removing children from their natural parents and subjecting some categories of children to truly inhumane practices.
That's right.
The first peoples of these lands endured massacres of whole villages and entire families. It wasn't just war, it was wholesale extermination. In the 19th century, US and Canadian governments began to steal or cajole children away from parents in order to re-educate them as part of the dominant culture. Incarcerated in boarding schools, many died of disease, were abused physically, emotionally, spiritually, culturally, forced to relinquish their native names, languages, traditions, and relationships. The result was wholesale trauma and a multi-generational cancer of poverty and spiritual brokenness. Chattel slavery in the colonies and in the new nation routinely and callously sold children and parents to different owners with no regard for the damage done to human souls. African American slaves were treated little better than broodstock, and their children sold off like puppies. Jim Crow continued those attitudes throughout this nation, and children who wandered out of the bounds set for them were deemed expendable. Children like Emmett Till, and Ruby Sales and Trayvon Martin.
Yeah.
The racism named and rejected in Black Lives Matter is simply the latest chapter of our national disregard for the sanctity of human life,
Yes.
particularly the lives of young people of color.
Speak on it.
The grief of parents is dismissed and ignored, yet that grief is breaking the heart of God and destroying the soul of this nation.
Yes.
People of faith recognize the pervasiveness of violence against children. The biblical tradition includes a call in the Psalms to bash the babies of enemies against the rocks. The human urge to vengeance is ancient, but the Bible also repeatedly forbids sacrificing children.
Well, teach.
When King Solomon is decided to ask which woman is really the mother of this disputed child, he suggests cutting the infant in half, at which point the real mother's anguish makes her obvious. The Gospels tell of a Syrophoenician woman asking Jesus to heal her daughter. She's both a foreigner and a Gentile, and he ignores her until she insists that even the puppies get the crumbs from the table. Then he heals her. Any healthy human adult knows that it is wrong, immoral, to remove a dependent child from loving parents. It is wrong and immoral to withhold food, water, healing, and nurture from a child. People of faith call that evil and sinful. We are challenged to love our neighbors, whatever their age, race, condition, or nationality. God judges nations who kill the souls of their neighbors. Jesus insists that blessing only comes to those who care for the least of these: the poor, the hungry, the weak, the grieving and imprisoned, and even the blind and hateful who perpetrate these evils. May God turn our hearts toward all our neighbors, and may God heal us.
Thank you. Thank you. And next, I want to invite Christine Park with the Korean Resource Center. Christine. Is Christine here?
Excuse me, really quick. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? So, we're gonna wait a little. We're gonna get a little situated here because we want to make some loud noises. Okay? Please forgive us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it. Go ahead.
Okay. Again, hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Let me ask you again. How are we doing today? One more time. How are we doing today? My name is Christine Park. I am from Los Angeles, and I am undocumented and unafraid. So, it's probably my first time seeing every single one of you here, and you probably didn't think that I was undocumented or not, right? Right? Right. So, usually I share everyone about how I became undocumented, how I came to United States when I was 10 years old, and I lived here for 16 years, not looking back, not being able to look back, and just lived my life here, thinking that I was American. And but I don't want to do that today. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that today because I am upset. I am angry because thousands of kids are getting torn apart because of this government. Because shame, exactly, shame. Shame, exactly. I am just furious because when I was 10, all I had was my mother who stood by me, said it was going to be okay when I did not speak the language. All I had was my mom who supported me when I went to the middle school, and she told me it was gonna be okay, and that's all I had. And they took that away from these kids here, and that is unacceptable. That is not okay. So the question of the day is, when will you start to care? When will you start to care? When? Today?
Right here.
Right now? When will you care? When will you care? When will you care? When the number goes up? When you can present it to the floor that says, here's the number of ABC has increased, thousands and even 10,000 kids has been separated by the government? Is that when you're gonna care? Is that when you're gonna care? When you're gonna care? Are you going to care when they set up a memorial, when they put this in a history book, and 10 years later, is that when you're gonna care? The time is now. The time to care is right now. Right here, right now. We need to keep our families together because you only get one. You only get one family. You don't get more than that. And people need to understand that too. People have to understand there's only one family. And if you take that away from them, they have nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's heartless of you. So today is the time. Today's the day we get up, we care. We care about the kids, we care about the family, the moms, the dads, the child, the babies. So I want you to say this with me. I am somebody. And I deserve full equality. Right here. Right now. The kids are somebody. And they deserve full equality. Right here. Right now. My mother is somebody. And she deserves full equality. Right here. Right now. My father, he is somebody. And he deserves full equality. Right here. Right now. Right here. Right now. I just want to appreciate every single one of you. I want to thank every single one of people who cares and will care in the future. And I just want to appreciate ACLU for this space. And lastly, if everybody can say this with me, it means we can do it in Korean.
Let's do it.
Which is 할 수 있다. Again, is 할 수. Yeah, you ready? Ready?
Okay.
Together we can do this. Together, if we come together, if we start to care today, we can stop this. Let's care today. Let's do it today. Let's get
Senator Harris will be coming out shortly. Before that, we do have one more speaker, Angelica Salas with Cleveland.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Angelica Salas. I'm with CHIRLA, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. Our mission is to create a just society fully inclusive of immigrants. We came from Los Angeles, and we came in partnership with organizations and individuals who are willing to stand up for humanity, for human rights, for dignity and respect. With us came the CARECEN, the Central American Resource Center, the LGBTQ Center. With us came the Public Council, the Public Law Center of Orange County. But most importantly, those who came and who are here stand on the shoulders of all Americans who, when they have been challenged to fight for the ideals of this country, of liberty and justice for all, they stood up. And they said, we are going to be the Americans that make these words real, not just on our Constitution, not just in our Bill of Rights, but real in people's lives. We stand on the shoulders of the abolitionists. We stand on the shoulders of the suffragists. We stand on the shoulders of all those civil rights workers who died for freedom, for civil rights, for all of us. We stand on the shoulders of Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, and more importantly, the farm workers who said, we want justice in this country. We are here because we want the American public to know that the humanitarian crisis is not over. This is a humanitarian crisis man-made by President Trump and every single person in the Republican Party and in DHS that is deciding to take away the rights of human beings and children. The humanitarian crisis will not be over until those children, until the thousands and thousands of children are reunited with their fathers and with their mothers. This humanitarian crisis will not be over until the parents, the fathers and the mothers at the border and in the interior are allowed to live free and have a better life in this country without the threat of deportation or detention. That's when the humanitarian crisis will be over. This country, with this Statue of Liberty and all its ideals, needs to provide refuge and protection for men and women and children who are fleeing violence, who are fleeing war, and who are fleeing atrocities that you can't even imagine. These families deserve that we stand with them. We need to ask ourselves, why does a young woman flee for her life? What have we done to create this situation? And how will we take up our responsibility to protect these families? This humanitarian crisis is not over until these horrible immigration laws that we live under that have separated millions of families, until these immigration laws are injected with some humanity, with a sense of dignity and respect for human beings. No more militarization, no more criminalization. Next week, the Republican Party wants to put forward another horrible immigration bill. It seeks to put forward more pain and suffering and wants to waste our taxpayer dollars for a horrible border wall, for more detention centers to house families and to house working men and women. We have to stand up, Americans, all of us, no matter our color, no matter our age, no matter whether we were born here or not. This is a moment where we are human beings fighting for other human beings who suffer the same way we suffer, who love their children the way we love our children. Americans, in uplifting the humanity of immigrants seeking refuge in this moment, you lift up your own humanity. It is about fighting for immigrants, but let me tell you, it's about fighting for you. Where are you? Where are you in this moment of need? Where are you in this moment of crisis? And so I see that the people around me have answered have answered this question. And what they have said is, I'm ready to fight for liberty. I'm ready to fight for justice. I'm ready to fight for those children. And we will not rest. We will not rest until we see each of those children reunited with their loving mother and father. We will not rest until we abolish immigration, ICE, and the Border Patrol, and all these horrible, horrible law enforcement agencies that are only tearing our families apart. Yeah, we want secure communities, but let me tell you, what's happening right now is not that. It is your tax dollars. Your tax dollars can be used for good. They can be used for the things our communities need, or these tax dollars can be used for evil. Right. And what we're saying to everybody here, it is we as Americans, we of every generation are standing up for those ideals. We're going to make them real. Our money is going to be used for good, and we will not rest. We will be in the streets. We will be at the voting booth. We're going to make sure that anybody that was complicit with this horror is no longer representing any of us. We're a people of justice. We will make this real in people's lives. Our children, these are our children. These are our children. These are our children. And we're going to keep fighting for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Save our kids! Save our kids! Save our kids! Save our kids!
It's my distinct.
Save our kids! Save our kids! Save our kids!
It's my distinct pleasure.
Save our kids! Save our kids!
It's my distinct pleasure to introduce. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce United States Senator Kamala D. Harris, a lifelong public safety and civil rights leader. Senator Harris was the first African American and first woman to serve as Attorney General of California, and the second African American woman to be elected to the U.S. Senate in history. Harris began her career in the Alameda County District Attorney's Office, where she specialized in prosecuting child sexual assault cases. In 1998, she joined the San Francisco District Attorney's Office, where she led the Career Criminal Unit. She also served as the head of the San Francisco City Attorney's Division on Children and Families. As California's Attorney General, Harris prosecuted transnational gangs exploiting women and children and trafficking in guns and drugs, and led comprehensive studies on the impacts of the transnational criminal organizations and human trafficking in the state. Without further ado, welcome the Honorable Kamala D. Harris.
Thank you. Let's shout for the children and families.
Yes.
Let's just shout for them. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out and for all the work that everyone has been doing to give voice to these families, to these children, and to this issue. I was just in there. I got a tour of that detention facility, and then I sat down and spoke for some time and visited with the mothers who are there. And my heart is broken. These mothers have given testimony, if you will, have given the stories, have shared their stories, their personal stories that are a story of a human rights abuse being committed by the United States government. And we are so much better than this. And what we have got to do is fight against this. This is contrary to all of the principles that we hold dear and that give us a sense of who we are when we are proud to be Americans. But we have no reason to be proud of this. We have no reason to be proud of this. This is a situation where the United States government and this administration brought upon itself and the reputation of the American public, brought upon us without a request. Shame.
Shame on you!
Shame. We have over 2,000 children, babies, who have been torn from their parents' arms. And they talk about it now, they're touting this executive order. Let's not be fooled. Let's not be fooled. The reality is that this administration brought it upon itself to create a zero-tolerance policy while vilifying a group of people who have traveled through countries seeking asylum, fleeing murder capitals of the world. And what do? Look at this place behind me. We imprison them. We imprison them. We put them behind barbed wires. I walk through that. I am a career prosecutor. I have visited many prisons and jails. That is a prison.
That's right. That's right.
You walk through the halls and the doors clank shut and there are bars on the windows. They get time to have recreation for a certain number of hours a day in a 500 square foot cell. These parents, they're being told, well, we were told, a United States senator was told, oh, they get phone calls for free for their parent when they call their children. But when I sit down with the parents, it is very clear that they are charged for those calls. Now, let's also be clear about what's happening in this prison they call a detention facility. For when they work, and they are asked and they are charged with working, you know how much they are paid? $1 a day.
Slavery.
The phone calls cost 85 cents a minute. So I ask this administration, why would we think these parents should be any different than any one of us when we understand nothing can comfort our children more at the end of their day than knowing they can speak with their parent and receive a kiss and a hug, a good night story, time together to wish them sweet dreams and wake them in the morning with our voices. There is nothing that calms and comforts a child more. We are depriving over 2,000 children of the benefit of that, most of which arrived here with parents who believed it was safer for them to take that trek through Mexico, often through a caravan with a coyote even. They decided to endure all the risk that that might present because they knew the risk to their safety and health and well-being was worse in the place from which they came. And when they arrive here, we call them criminals. We treat them like criminals. That is not the sign of a civil society. That is not the sign of compassion.
That's right.
And a society will be judged based on how it treats its children and the least among us.
That's right. That's right.
We will be judged harshly for this. We will be judged harshly for this. And so the question becomes, what are we going to do about it? And I say we stand up, we speak up, we shout, we march, we fight to make sure that these families and these babies and these children have a voice, and this administration be forced to face the hypocrisy of what they have done to reconcile the lack of connection between what they say they care about and what they actually do, because frankly, I'm too busy watching what they're doing to hear what they're saying.
Right.
And what they're doing is tearing families apart. The government should be in the business of keeping families together, not tearing them apart. The bottom line is this. We have to keep giving these children and their families a voice. These mothers that I spoke with, they think that they're alone. We need to remind them and everyone else that they are not alone and that we all stand with them. So let's keep being a voice, and let's make sure that we put all of the attention into also making sure that those 2,000 plus children are reunified with their parents. Let's make sure that we understand that we need to end this misguided, misinformed red meat policy around this no tolerance policy. Let's understand that this is not reflective of who we are as a country, and we can be better. And guys, here's the bottom line as far as I'm concerned. This fight for us is about love of country. I'm not letting anyone take away our flag.
That's right.
This is our flag. This is about patriotism. This is a fight born out of knowing who we are and fighting for the ideals of our country. And that is what we are going to continue to do. Fight for the ideals of our country. Because the bottom line is this. Years from now, our children, grandchildren, people are going to ask us, where were you at this moment, at this inflection moment? And what I know we are not going to do is we are not going to just simply say, this is how I felt. We are going to talk about what action we took, what we did, how we fought for the best of who we are. So let's keep on, let's speak out, let's march, let's fight, let's be the best of who we can, and let's defeat these misguided policies. Let us not